In this lecture, we'll be taking a look at the require function in PHP. We already saw the include function. Now in this one, we'll be exploring require function. So we'll see what's the difference between require and include, and we'll also find out that functionality wise they both are same, but the difference lies that require will throw an error. An internal server error will be thrown if the resource that we are referring via require is missing or is not found, whereas includes just gives us warning. So the page will render, there will be no internal server error or HTTP error 500 as such. Now the basic usage of require over here will be to separate out our code from HTML and maintain it at one place. Now we'll also find out that require, when we say require, that means it's mandatory, and in that case using require means that you will have to provide that resource. Without that, it's not going to work, and that's the reason why it throws an error if the resource is not found, because it assumes that this resource is required to render this particular page. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the code now. So this is the page. In the previous lecture we explored include, and we were simply including the partials or components. You can see header, content and footer. Now over here you can see that I have made use of require function. Now require is actually referring to a file called app.php. Now this app.php is residing inside the src or source directory. Now this app.php is actually containing all the code that we earlier had when the form was posted. So it was just echoing out the username and email which we posted via our form. Now that source is now placed inside app.php, and what we are doing in index.php is simply requiring it. So if I go ahead and say go for this file appx.php, now this appx.php is not present in our solution. So the form that you're seeing right now, if I run it, you'll see that it says this page is not working. If I go to debugger and here preserve the log and reload this page, you'll find that this index page is throwing internal server error. Let's go ahead and see the response if there is any. Otherwise you can see 500 internal server error. Let's run it one more time and see. So on the server side it's throwing internal server error, and here you can see that it is throwing this 404 no such file or directory. Now if I just rename it back to app.php, so now the obviously resource is there, and if I go ahead and show you the form this time, it will render properly. You can see the status is now 200 and everything is coming up perfectly fine. Let's enter some data over here and see whether it's working or not. Yes, it is working perfectly. Now if I go ahead over here and say headerx.php, now we also know that headerx is not part of our views or partials. In that case, if I save this file and run it again, you'll notice that the header section has gone, but name, email and buttons are coming up properly, and there's no error as such which was earlier coming up when we were providing a non-existing resource to our require function. But if we are doing the same with our includes, it's not throwing any error as such, and the page is rendering. So that's the difference between require and include, and I hope now you understand the difference why we are having just the code thing in our app.php and using it via the require function, and why we are making use of include function to include our partials. Now in the next lecture we'll be taking a look at how we can validate our data that we are entering in our forms.